Hello, everyone. Thanks for having us in this amazing event. My name is Jorge, and together with my co-founder, Alejandro, we're going to talk today about building a self-custodial crypto card using smart permissions. So before we get started, just some background and context about Tuyo, what Tuyo is. First and foremost, it's a self-custodial crypto app. And we take the self-custodial part very, very strongly. As so much, I don't know if you know Spanish, but Tuyo literally means yours in Spanish. So we take it to the roots in our name. With Tuyo, you can trade, earn, and now spend crypto right on your phone with a great user experience. And we also have the ability to treat stable coins basically as first-class citizens, and like one USDC in Tuyo is kind of like having one USDC in a bank account. And the whole thing should feel like the best experience that you can have in a centralized exchange or that you can have in a modern neobank, but have it fully self-custodial. And money in Tuyo is always yours. So one thing that when we were building Tuyo that was missing is like, okay, but how do we allow people to spend crypto daily, to use crypto on a daily basis? Because in order for us to bridge that gap, it has to feel as simple and intuitive and not cumbersome as using the traditional cards from a bank account. So we decided that we had to build a card in order to bridge this gap and be able to use this today. When we look at the landscape of crypto cards, we saw that they were generally bad. And like all the crypto cards in the market right now, they do have at least one of these problems. Either they're custodial, so you're basically sending your money off to someone else's wallet and then hope that whenever you're gonna pay, your money is gonna be there and that they're not gonna run off with your entire balance. So this is bad. The other issue is that they feel like prepaid cards. And like some of them, they're marketed as not prepaid cards and they're not prepaid cards, but it still feels like prepaid. And prepaid is like, if you have to be constantly topping up some balance that you wouldn't have there, it still doesn't feel good. Like a crypto card should feel exactly like having a card and a bank account, and if there's money in your account, you can use your card. And there's virtually no crypto card that feels this way. And the third one, for the ones that do not have this problem, is that they lack on-chain privacy. Given how on-chain transactions work and how easy it is to trace people based on who do you pay, what transactions do you make. If you have a card attached to your account that can be traced back to you, if you see every single transaction on chain, that's like a huge privacy concern. Because like maybe you don't see exactly what someone paid, but if you can see the time or the amount of the transaction, you can make pretty good approximations of what someone is doing. So if I'm at 1 a.m. doing like several $15 charges, someone might say, okay, he went out, he's having drinks, he keeps paying for drinks. And this is not great because like to a bad actor, they may tell them like, he's not at home, he's out drinking, and like, this is not great. We shouldn't have every single transaction that we make with our card leave an on-chain footprint for bad actors to see forever. So what are the properties of a great crypto card that we needed to build? First of all, it has to be non-custodial. So users stay in control and self-custody of their funds until the moment these funds are spent. Second, it needs to have a debit card feeling. And here, like, feeling is very important because like people shouldn't be doing treasury management to make sure that they can pay for a coffee. It should just work. You have money in your account, it's self-custodial, but you can still use the card. Third, it needs to be rack-proof, and this is very, very important for us because like if it has these properties, but then people can pay, but they're not in the hook for what they spend. We go bankrupt, and if we go bankrupt, we have to close the card, so this is not great. The card needs to be rack-proof and proof from double spending attacks and so on. And four, it needs to be as private as possible. And here we work with the constraints of public blockchains, so there's only so much that we can do. But we should obfuscate as much as possible so that looking at my on-chain footprint of me using the card, someone cannot look at and say, okay, this person is traveling, this person's outside of the house, or they might be in another time zone. So before we get into how we built this, we're going to do a little bit of background on how card transactions work, and which informs the infrastructure we had to build. So first, someone goes to a merchant and they have to pay for something. So this is the presentation of the card, which triggers an authorization via the card network. And here's where we come in, and when we have to make a decision very, very fast. So basically, the card network asks us, hey, this person wants to pay this amount of money for this. Can they pay for it or not? And we have less time than what it takes to land a transaction to decide this. And this is a final decision that if you say yes, then in the terminal, in the payment terminal, the user, like the merchant will say, you're going to get paid, and then it's done. And then in 1 to 3 days, the settlement occurs. Once the transaction is completed, it's when the funds move. And here there's a lot of asterisks and edge cases, but this is typically what happens. And at this point, we need to make sure that if we authorize a payment, that the user at this point is going to pay. And bear in mind that the user needs to stay in custody of their funds for the entire period. The second background is how smart account permissions work. Tuyo is built on smart accounts with infrastructure from zero dev. So these are like some special accounts that run on smart contracts, and like the usual flow for this, and we've omitted some things here for clarity, is the owner of the account has a private key or has a passkey. They sign some payload for a user operation. The smart contract checks, hey, the owner did sign for this, and then the transaction, any action can go through from the account. But we can also set this other type of permissions, which are a little bit more complex, but basically allow us to have arbitrary stateful smart contract logic that validates transactions in the wallet. So in this case, the owner of the smart account will install this permission in which it will allow a signer, which in this case it would be the card provider, to execute stuff in the account, but within some very specific thresholds. And this is basically smart contract code that for every transaction that the signer signs, it can run some code, decide whether the transaction can go through or not, and then it happens. But it's like being able to allow programmatic permissions for very, very scope actions. So yeah, coming back to this, how did we pull it together to build a great crypto card that has the 4 properties that we saw before? And the first step is this thing that we call the periodic pull permission. This is a smart account permission that users get installed into their account, which basically allows Tuyo to pull a certain amount of money from the user's balance daily. But it's just that amount that will be able to be spent with the card. And here you can see how it looks like the permission in the app. When the card is activated, we ask the user, hey, do you consent to this permission, which basically pull the card daily limit on the user's account. And then whenever there's time to rebalance this, there's this policy that runs, which allows us to just trigger that specific action, which goes directly from the user main account into this other component that we call the collateral account. The pull permission allows us to be sure that that's the only way in which funds can move. It can only go in a certain flow, which is the card daily limit, and go from the smart account to go to the collateral account of the user. And that's the only thing that we can do, and it's something that can be triggered automatically so the user doesn't have to manage their balance. And then the collateral account. This is where the user funds that can be spent with the card live. So this is a smart contract. It's like a sub-account from the user that has the feature that basically in order to release funds, Tuyo has to cosign those releases. And through the pull permission we saw before, this can be automatically topped up. Then whenever there's money in that account, when we get the authorization, we can check, hey, is the user going to pay for this? Do they have balance on this? Are we going to be able to instantly, the moment that we say yes, are we going to be able to lock those funds? And this is what happens. Whenever the user spends it, we're able to implicitly lock the funds, which in practice means Tuyo will refuse to co-sign any releases on top of the debt that the user already has. And as you will see in the demo, this occurs absolutely transparently for the user. It's just magical and handle everything in the background. Then after the card transactions are settled, Tuyo can trigger a settlement. Again, these flows are very, very strict. So like money can only move from like specific accounts to specific accounts. So whenever like transactions are completed, we're able to pull the trigger, and the funds are settled directly with the card provider. And this is really good because it allows Tuyo to never have custody of the user funds. And we're basically just making sure this entire automation works and goes from like a user-owned smart contract, which is fully self-custodial, all the way to paying for the card transactions. And the whole thing feels great. And then at any point, since the user is in custody of their funds, they can trigger an ejection, which is basically saying like, I don't want this any longer. And then they will, after some cooldown period, everything gets removed. The user is the only one with powers over that money. And at this point, the card will stop working because we're not sure that we can provide the service with all the guarantees. And now we're gonna do a live demo of the entire thing. Alex.
Okay, so everything that we can tell is great, but it's better if we feel it. So we are gonna do like a live purchase of something. As you can see, like I have not enough balance like to do anything. So like our card uses USDC on base. I will try like to get something. In Tuyo, you can receive money from bank accounts. People sending USDC or euros through ACH, Swift, or SEPA rails can send it directly to your account, and you can do it otherwise. You can also like deposit directly from your Coinbase account. And in this case, we will be using like our wallet and using like standalone EVM transactions. Maybe someone wants to send me money and I will welcome it. But Jorge, if you have some spare something that I can use to buy. Okay, so yeah, you just send me some ETH. I cannot do anything with this because like, as you can see here, our card just spends USDC on base. So I'm gonna sell this using Tuyo too, that you can trade in multiple chains, but we are not going through that rabbit hole today. And let the chains work. Yeah, we're here. So we are ready to spend money. This is all happening in real time. This is not prepaid, as Jorge told you, is in the collateral account. Let's like buy some robot unicorn that I see there. Let's see if they sell something in Etsy that can be similar to that. Come on, internet. No, there's no Wi-Fi. Okay, robot unicorn. Well, the connection is not helping me a lot with this. Let's just buy the first thing that appears here so we can save some time. Yeah, here it is. Just buy this random thing. L, same color number 1. ETHDenver. Okay, so right now we can do the checkout. We are gonna use Apple Pay. And yes, no way. I cannot ship this to the US. Let's look for another item. They don't ship this to Spain. Yeah, whatever. Okay, let's see if this works. Yeah, we can do that. It's not very cheap, but let's do it. We done? Let's see. Yeah, we receive here the payment. Let's open the push. It already happened, like Etsy, $99, all working. So this is something that feels very good to be able to do it once and for all. You are paying with crypto. You still remain self-custodial until the end. But where is the arc? Here. But you are not giving any explanation to anybody. You go to a standard in shop, random place. You pay like a normal human being. You don't need to give any excuses to onboard them into crypto, to get them into a wallet, whatever. So behind this, that looks very simple. There are a lot of pieces that come together. Ones are like our partners, Rain, that are here, and cheers to them for making this happen too. The other thing is like the networks and the merchants and ourselves. So the life cycle here is very easy. Like the user initiates a payment, we receive a network, like the network and the issuer and all the people involved request like Tuyo for the authorization to do this payment. We check if the user has like in all the collateral account, the expenditure that they done already and everything has availability like to cover this operation. And regarding that, we decline or accept the payment. If the purchase is approved, like everything goes well, the user receives the push notification and the purchase is done. If it's declined, it will happen likewise, but in the decline state. And the user will be logged for the authorized amount. When this payment is settled, we will receive the settlement message and we will allow our machinery behind like to batch that transaction with all the payments that we have like completed for the user and to settle that in just one transaction. And yeah, the good news is that we are releasing the Tuyo card in the US today. So anyone like here can download it today. You can pay with USDC on base, pay in any merchant that accepts Visa. It's 100% free. You don't need to pay any setup fees. You don't need to pay any monthly subscription or monthly fee. And you can spend in store now using Apple Pay or Google Pay. And as a fast follow, we will be releasing for South America, and the physical card will be also coming soon. Europe will be also coming, but we don't have like a close estimate for that. And if you want to come and change the future of finance and shape it with us, we are hiring, so we are looking for talented people that if you are interested, just go to tuyo.com, get the app, or send us your CV, and we will be happy like to review it. Yeah, here's the link. Thank you very much.